G'day and welcome to another episode of Spectrum Uncensored. Today I have with me Joline from Sydney. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. Did you want to tell me a little bit about yourself and your business/profession?
Sure, yes, my name is Joline, as you mentioned, and I'm a carer for my youngest who is on the autism spectrum, who's 8 years old, and I also have another lovely boy, 11-year-old, and two boys. And I'm also, as well as being a carer, I do also run a support services programs for autism carers. So basically supports and services, mainly a support group and also wellbeing programs, etc., for carers that, can feel like they're not alone on their journey, and also that may be struggling in regards to information resources and support.
So is the support group, is it like in different locations all the time? Is it in one location?
Yeah, so look, at the moment we predominantly are based in southwest Sydney, so the Fairfield area, and we will expand in future because it is growing. We started off with about 3-4 mums, and now we've got about 80 to 90 mums
Oh, wow.
registered. They don't all come at once, but as you know, it gets busy. But we do have a lot of mums registered that are interested. They're coming in from different areas because unfortunately there's not enough support out there. So we do have mums come from, the city area, from the hills, from Blacktown, Penrith, all over Sydney, yes, to our support group. So at the moment we are, like I said, in the Fairfield area, but we are going to look at expanding. So we'll definitely look at that once, it does keep growing.
Yeah, and how long have you been doing it? When did the business kind of start?
Yeah, so I just started voluntarily, 2019. I started this, and basically at first I started it as more just a blog and follow my story kind of thing on Instagram, help you cope, and just said, let's see where this goes. And once I seen that people need supports, and I also felt like I needed much support, at the beginning of the journey, and there wasn't enough in our area. I thought, what would be lovely if we had a supports group, and there was none. So I thought, let me just put it out there, and literally just sent out a story saying, is anyone interested in meeting up to meet with, like-minded individuals? And I had a few mums that say, yes, I'm interested, or, I can make these days, etc. And that's how it started. So basically 2019, and it just grew and grew by word of mouth, never really advertised anywhere because I thought, I don't know how much I can handle or have the resources for. Like I said, it's voluntarily, so I've just been doing it on my own. And only recently we've become not-for-profit, which has been amazing. So now we're able to provide more services for carers.
That's awesome. And I guess you would have had that speed hump of COVID just after getting started.
Yes. Yeah, we did actually. And at the time, I remember because we couldn't really meet up, no one could go anywhere. And I did do a few Zoom sessions. So we said, we'll meet up online. And a lot of the mums were interested, especially the ones that usually can't make it anyway because it's a bit hard to get out sometimes. And yeah, that was great. We did a few, but that was really difficult too because at the same time we had our kids at home, and trying to juggle that plus be on a Zoom, as you know, with special needs kids doesn't always work well. So but that was a hard time because we couldn't really meet up face to face because all our meetups are usually face to face.
Yeah, and it is difficult trying to juggle all that stuff. Like you've got your kids' appointments and then you're trying to kind of get other things done in between times. But it is really important to look after your own mental health and find a support network that you can be around because it can be quite lonely. Like it's not
Yeah.
it's not, I guess you feel helpless and hopeless at some stages during your journey, and it is a very up and down kind of life. So it's nice to be able to connect with people that, as you say, are like-minded and have gone through similar things. It's
Yeah.
nice to swap war stories.
100%. And that's what we found with the support group. So, like I said, it started small, but the more that we had carers come along, were giving us that feedback saying that, some of them are single mums with zero support. Their family's not nearby. They have no one. And they told me that I had no one before you came along. And now they have this network of very close caring friends that actually genuinely care and get them, and they just feel like they have this support or this network that has been life-changing for some. So it's actually very important because, as we know, it can be very challenging and your mental health can decline, and it's happened to me before at the beginning, and that's why I even started to create this, because I felt like without that support, even if you have family and friends, sometimes they don't get it like someone that's actually going through the same. So being around like-minded individuals and getting that support from genuine caring people is, yeah, like I said, life-changing, and it is a game changer. So for many.
It's very much like a village thing, and being able to lift each other up and kind of carry each other through. It's a little bit,
Yeah.
like I've got a best friend who's neurodivergent like me, and also her children are neurodivergent, and it's often that when she's having a bad time, I'm all right, so I'm able to kind of, and then vice versa. So it's nice to have
Yeah.
that kind of opportunity, I suppose, to find your people and yeah, as you say, people that understand. But I guess, do
Yeah.
you get a lot of men in the group, or is it all women?
Look, most of they're women. We've had maybe one or two men that have been interested in support groups. And what I found actually, within my family and also within other families, a lot of men tend to hold their emotions in or hide their emotions, and they struggle more than the females, I've noticed, or the mums or whoever's looking after the child. I've noticed because they don't, like, we meet up, we chat about it, whereas they don't really do that, or they hide their emotions, which is really hard and sad at the same time, because then, we know what that leads to, that mental health decline. They leave it to themselves, they get depressed, and they don't seek counselling or professional help either, because they feel like, they have to be the strong ones, etc. And for the family, and yeah, and it's actually worse to do that. So not many men, to be honest. Yeah, like I said, only a couple, but most of them are women, because I feel like a lot of they're usually the primary carer, and most of the men are at work during the day. So the primary carer is holding it all together, trying to do the appointments, taking him to school, trying to do everything, and they're the ones usually crumbling as well. So they're the ones that are seeking support more. Yeah, so it's very minimal. There are a few that are interested, but mainly I've noticed it is females that, yeah, come to the support group.
Yeah, I mean, obviously everyone's experience is different, and as
Yeah,
as you say, men are usually the breadwinners when, especially in this
yeah,
situation. But it's hard. I know that a lot of the time, as you say, men bottle things up and
yeah.
they don't talk about stuff because I don't know why that's kind of social. Well, the society's kind of made it seem like if men,
Expectations, yeah.
yeah, like if men talk about it or they cry, they're weak. It's like,
Oh,
no,
yeah, which is
so
no, not at
yeah,
all.
so it's nice that you've had a few kind of come in to have a little, um, a little chat and all that kind of thing. But I find, like, I've noticed with my husband, for example, if he bottles stuff up, he gets quite angry and agitated, and it's like,
Yeah,
he doesn't quite know why he is, but it's just because he hasn't talked things
it's a
through.
build up.
Yeah, and it might
Yeah,
not seem obvious at the time what it is. It might not actually be something that is happening in that moment. It's, as you say, it's like compounding, and
yeah,
eventually, your top's going to blow. Like, there comes a
yeah.
time.
No, 100%. Yeah, no, I find that too. I see that a lot, and that's true, because they hold it in. So then anything when you're psychology perspective, I've learned that, when you're already at 80, 90% all the time, what happens is you only have this tiny leeway, like 10%, to tip you over. So if you're here all the time instead of down to zero, or, minimal, then yeah, anything small, bang, you're overflowing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, even men that are going out daily to work and things like that, they still burn out. It's, that
Of
obviously they've got
course.
work and then they come back and have to deal with the home stuff. But
Yeah.
it's such a different perspective from each kind of individual in a household, because everyone goes through something different on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I mean, I look after my son. I'm the primary carer. Um, and I find that I get burned out really quickly. I tend to get really agitated, and as you say, short fuse with that, that little bit left in the tank.
Yeah. Not much.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but then you also go through the opposite where you shut down as well, and it's like that depressive type situation where you're feeling tired all the time and fatigued, and you feel like you just need to sleep all the time, but it's not actually. It's like, why do I need to sleep all the time when I'm actually, I'm getting plenty of sleep or whatever. But yeah, I mean, that's not always the case either. But
Yeah.
it's nice to be able to talk to different people and kind of get bounce ideas off each other, because there's
Yeah.
often sometimes it's the weirdest things that work, and
Mm.
you're not going to get that
Well,
kind of
actually,
advice.
yeah, thinking of that with in regards to because you're like you said, if you're the primary carer, a lot of the primary carers these days, especially with special needs, because there's so much going on, need to stay home, and they're not having a break. So, and sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes they are the sole carer and the only carer that the child has, and they can't have a break because there's no backup. So, in these situations, what I try to tell people or carers is that even the smallest things can make a difference. So, I was actually having a tough morning this morning. I've got so much going on. We've got a website launching tomorrow and we just have so much happening. And at the same time, I'm still dealing with what I deal with. It doesn't go away just because, I'm doing things that I enjoy or, business, etc. And just small things like, listening to a podcast or positive music that you enjoy while you're doing the school stuff or while you're having a coffee, like, just
Yeah,
small things that you
a
enjoy,
warm
your
one.
favorite drink, a warm one. Yeah, it's usually frozen by the time I get back to it. But yeah, like a warm drink, just anything, even if you can't get away or have a break because some kids aren't at school yet and some parents don't have that break where they can have that time out from not that you want to have a break from your children, but it's like you need a break from sometimes so much happening just to relax your mind and get, like reset and then get ready for it. So you do have a bit more patience. Like we said, bringing down that, that levers that's up there, so yeah, so I find even, yeah, positive podcasts, music, things that are in your control, having a cry in the shower, whatever makes you feel better, just do it because these little things do add up. And if you don't do even these little joys throughout the day these little things that bring you joy, you will really struggle.
And that's the thing with your support groups. It's something for someone to look forward to, and
Oh,
having
yeah.
that, like I used to get a massage once a month, and that was my thing to look
Mm,
forward to. And I used to feel
mm,
guilty about it at first, but it got to a point where I'm like,
yeah.
no, I need this, and this is for me, and I don't have anything else that I do. So
Mm,
now it's like once a year I go for a week away with my best friend, and we go somewhere. Like last year we went to
nice.
New Zealand. So,
Mm,
obviously not everyone has that opportunity, but
yeah.
it is difficult because when you kind of enter this life that we now live, you have to change your expectations, and that's very, very difficult
Yes.
because it's a grieving process, and people all the time will
Mm,
say, oh, why are you grieving, they're not dead, or it's like that's not what we mean by
yeah.
that.
No.
um, you always have these dreams and aspirations and
Yep.
thoughts in your head when you have a child.
Expectations.
Yeah, and it's
Yep.
not, you don't
Mm,
need to feel guilty about that. It's,
no.
you're not grieving the fact that they have autism or ADHD. You're grieving for the potentially the easier life they could have had,
Yeah.
and grieving for the
100%. Yeah.
challenges that they face. It's not that you don't
Mm,
love your child. You
yep.
still love them. They're still the exact same child before they were
Mm,
diagnosed. But
yep.
it's hard. Like you have to really.
It is.
It sounds sad to say it as like having to lower your expectations, but that's what it is. It's,
Yeah.
instead of finding joy in going to a music concert, for example, you can't do that
Mm,
anymore. So as you say,
yeah.
listen to music instead. It's just, trying to find.
Mm,
It's hard because this life is full of compromise. Like it often
it
feels like
is.
you're not
Yeah.
getting anything from it,
Yeah.
as such, but it's also
And
a
it is
very
your
rewarding
perspective.
life. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And it is a perspective. So, two things. One of them about the guilt you're talking about, having a break or visiting, having a massage or going away with someone, or even, like you said, coming to our support group or wellbeing programs. The way you can look at it, that's also perspective too. So, if you look at it instead of saying, I'm taking time out and being away from my kid, I feel guilty, you can look at it as if I don't have this break, I'm going to be impatient and be yelling at my child 24/7. So, really, I'm helping not just me, but I'm helping my family because then I'm more patient and more loving towards my child. So, that's one thing. And the other thing I wanted to touch up on that you were talking about was in regards to our expectations with life, with grieving. So I actually done a post about this previously, and it's something that you can talk about forever because there's so much to unpack in that. But basically, there are people do grieve, and I went through that. I know friends that have gone through that, and that is grieving the life you expected. Not that your child's not there, but the life that you expected your child to have and for your family to have with that child. And that is very normal. I want people to know that that is very normal grieving. The loss of a life, expectation, etc., is very normal, and everyone goes through it differently. Some people can go through it within a year. Some people don't even go through the grieving process. I have some people that message me and say, I don't know why you're saying grieving. I was happy that we got a diagnosis, because then we were able to see what supports my child needs, or why she does this, why she does that. And I understand that too. I understand both perspectives, because everyone's different. And some people grieve because they had such expectations that they were dreaming of or thinking of, and let them down when the doctor said, this is what your diagnosis is and this is what it means, or not knowing what it means is another scary thing. So
Yeah.
there are different stages, and everyone, some people never get over it because they, like you said, they have these expectations and they never come down from there. And unfortunately, you will get disappointed daily if you still have the same expectations you had before, or always think why, or, it would have been different if it wasn't this and that. If you think like that, unfortunately, it will just impact you and you will struggle.
Yeah, I mean, even I'm neurodivergent myself, and I still grieved.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
I often think, would it have been easier if I'd known from the moment he was born that he had a disability? And I don't
Yeah.
think so. I think it just would have been different. But in the
Yeah.
beginning, I was like, because he regressed. He tracked normally until around 2, and then he lost all his
Same.
words, stopped waving and blowing kisses and all that kind of thing. And so
Yeah.
that was a grieving process, like that switch, because all of a sudden your child looked the same, but they weren't quite the same anymore. And I
Yeah.
still see, I don't know if you see it, but I still see glimmers of my son before the switch. Now and then he'll do something and I'll go, oh my goodness, you look just like you did, or you're acting just like you
Yeah.
did before everything
Like their
went down.
personality comes through. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just it's
That's
quite
hard.
a strange phenomenon. Like, I don't think you could ever really properly describe it to someone unless they've been through it themselves. They're not really going to
Yeah.
understand that. But it's not to say that people don't want to understand it. It is
No.
just a very complicated thing to explain. And I know that, like, I spent countless nights where I would just cry about the fact that he was not, I was never going to hear his voice, and he was never going to say I love you, and and things
Yeah.
like that, that you really take for granted, really. You don't think about it. And even like going to the park and watching kids playing together, and my son's over in the corner by himself and things like that, just little things that you don't
Yeah.
really think much about until you are thinking about it. But
Yeah. Until you're in
it
that
is.
situation.
Yeah, just, walking past someone who's having a chat with their kid while they're walking, you think, oh, I wish I had that. And people say,
Yeah.
oh, my kid doesn't shut up. And I'm like, oh, I wish I had
Yeah, I know.
that.
It's always what you
So,
don't have. Yeah, it is
yeah,
hard. Yeah.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
they don't
So
know
it
how it is
is.
to have the opposite. They haven't been through
Yeah,
what we've been through. And we
yeah,
wouldn't have either if we weren't in this situation. We'd probably be exactly like them or not understand. And I try to give people this analogy. So just like when people haven't had any children yet, and you can people have talked to me before I had kids. They're like, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. They can hand me 10,000 books. I can read about it. They can tell me about it. But until you have the baby or the child, obviously they're all very different. But until you go through it, you actually don't know how it feels for a mother that was sleep deprived that was talking to you about it 10 years ago. You'd be like, oh yeah, that would be hard. But no, you don't know how hard it actually is till you have been woken up every hour. You have not slept for 1 week, like physically and mentally, you don't know how it feels. So that's why I try to tell people, same with special needs family or kids. It's the same thing. Unless you've physically gone through it, you do not know, unfortunately. And it's not because they don't want to. Like you said, it's just they haven't been through it, so they don't know
yeah. And often things
or
like parenting
understand.
books are written by people that don't have children. So it's like, okay, that
Yeah.
in an ideal world, that is how you would parent, or that is what you would do. And having to relearn that too, because you obviously are told through, society's expectations, this is how you discipline a child, this is what you do in this situation. But then for our kids, it's like the opposite.
It's
So
different.
you're having to retrain
Or it
your
doesn't work.
brain. Yeah. And you're having to retrain the way you think, the way you talk as well. Like, there's a lot of, you've got to do a lot of that, neuroaffirming vocabulary and trying to,
Yeah.
because it's hard. A lot of the times you're telling a child not to do something, but you have to kind of spin it in a way that it's not sounding negative, because otherwise they hear
Oh,
that stuff
yeah.
all the time, like I look
And
at
they
my son and
react.
think, yeah, and you think, wow, you hear no a lot, and you are told to wait
Yeah.
a lot, and when these kids rely on um, everybody to help them do something, that's very frustrating. Like, I'd be very frustrated all the time
Yeah.
too if I had to wait every 5 seconds because someone else was doing
Mm.
something. Um,
Yeah.
but it's difficult, and I when I was reading your profile stuff that you'd sent to me, so your son's nonverbal as well and a level 3.
Yeah, he's level 3. He was diagnosed level 3, and I don't know if you want me to go into that, but I can speak
Yeah.
about when we received the diagnosis. Yeah, because and that's the reason why I actually started Help You Cope. So yeah, he's level 3 nonverbal. So he's currently 8 years old. He's in year 2, so going on to year 3 next year. And he has come a long way. Before I start this story, he has come a very long way. Obviously, like like you said, we didn't expect it this way, but now that it is this way, we've seen so much progress in little ways that has, given us these little wins that excite us. But yeah, so basically, when he was, like you said, same as your child, when he was nearly 2, my husband actually noticed he started regressing, so not showing emotion, stopped babbling, stopped looking at us. And when my husband would come home, he noticed that he wasn't looking at him anymore, noticing that he was home. And he's like, that's strange. He's like, usually he'd be happy to come up to me. Something's going on. Anyway, we knew a tiny bit about autism, and my husband was like, let's go pediatrician, get him, diagnosed or checked, or, and let's have a see, what it is. So we did that. And even though we had a hint, when the doctor actually confirmed your child has autism, and when she said level 3, the highest level, that just broke me. I was basically hysterically crying all the way home from the doctors, because even though I expected, I had a hint that he might be on the spectrum, I didn't expect level 3, and for me that was like, what does this mean for my child? The biggest thing or problem I had was I did not want him to be judged, and I thought, I don't want anyone to look at him any less than what it is. I don't want anyone to look at him differently, or if I say he's autistic, they'll be like, oh, like something's wrong with him, or oh, he's less. Like, that broke my heart mostly out of everything. And then also not knowing what the future holds and what supports he needs and where to get started. It was just very overwhelming, as most carers feel when they get a diagnosis for their child. And yeah, that really upset me. And for one whole year, I say this all the time, one whole year I couldn't even speak about my son's diagnosis. We hid it from family, from friends, and not because we wanted to be secretive, but because we literally couldn't talk about it. We would get so emotional that we didn't want, and also we didn't, even family, we didn't want them to see him as less or different. So we kept it as long as we could, because obviously he was then 2, going 2.5. Oh, we got the comments, he's not talking yet, he's not speaking. And even the shop assistant, oh, does he talk? How old is he? He's still not talking, or, making noises. So then it got hard to hide. And then I was worried about, speaking about it. But I also noticed when I did start speaking about it that I did get a lot more positive than negative from people at the shops. They'd be like, oh, yeah, my neighbour's son has this, or, is autistic, and, and they were really lovely or positive about it. And I thought, oh, okay, speaking about it's not so bad. So either relating to people or educating people, I found was actually a good thing. So that was a good experience. And yeah, so then we started talking about it. And that's when, after I think about a year, 2 years, I started the page Help You Cope, and realised that, we need more support, we need more awareness. And like you said, a lot of people don't understand or know, and it's not because they don't want to, it's just that they literally don't know. So I thought raising awareness, educating people, and, having supports for people is so important. And I just started it as a little support group, and it's grown because people need to receive those types of supports. And even me, it's helped me, even though it's my support group. But I've learned a lot from mums that are further along on this journey than I am. Some have teenagers, adults that come to our group, and I learn so much from them. Like, it's just so valuable. But basically, that's what happened. I did struggle at the beginning, and then that's why Help You Cope came along.
Yeah, well, it's very therapeutic to talk about it. And at first I was hesitant too. I was like, how do I
Yeah.
approach this? And I did a very similar
Mm.
thing. My son's got his own Facebook page called The Adventures of Houdini. And Houdini's his nickname. His name's
I know.
Phoenix, but
Oh,
his
yeah.
nickname is Houdini because it's a mixture of Phoenix and Houdini because he's an escape artist. So
Oh,
that's where that
how
came from.
cool.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
started that.
So creative.
Yeah, I want to say about 2019, because we noticed when we were
Mm.
talking about it, people were doing the same thing. It was more positive than
Mm.
negative.
Yeah.
People were relating and also asking questions. So I was like, okay, we can use this as like a teachable moment type thing. And
Mm.
the page actually started in the beginning on YouTube because my son liked to watch videos of himself. But then we started realizing that people liked watching videos of him and, learning a bit about his struggles and his achievements and things like that. So, yeah, so
Mm.
that kind of took off, and yeah, he's like a
That's
little
great.
mini celebrity now. But but
Oh, YouTube. I'm going to have to check out that page. Yeah, that's
yeah, I think
awesome.
he's got about 1,800 followers on Facebook at the moment. But yeah, so he's, there's
That's great.
always nice, words of encouragement. We've obviously had, you
Mm.
know, our fair share of haters too, but everyone gets
Yes.
that. But
Yeah.
it's definitely, once you know, we often say the whole, we don't know what the future holds for our child, but we
Mm.
don't technically know that for any of our children. And
No.
being able to kind of put it in a perspective like that can help, in that it's like, it can also be more terrifying, I guess, but when you think about it
Yeah.
like that. But we don't know. And
No.
when you talk to people that are further along, like my son's 10, almost 10 and a
Mm.
half, and he communicates now. He was very much like your son, led by the hand,
That's what my
to
son does.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then we tried PECs, and he didn't quite click with that. And one day I was just like, I wonder what
Mm.
happens if I use real images, because he's so literal. And that worked. I started making my own PECs cards, with real life images on it. And then all of a sudden his communication exploded. He was telling us what he wanted, where he wanted to go.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, and then he one day, because we always use sign, things like more and finished and things
Mm.
like that.
Easy ones.
Toilet, thank you. But he just one day, he was on a swing, and I was like, do you want some more? And he went like that, and he banged on his chest, and I was like, oh my goodness, he just signed to me. And that was the start of his
Wow.
sign language, coming
Oh,
through.
so
So
just, I guess, repetitive, right?
yeah.
Just repeating, because I've got we're so similar because our sons are so similar. Because my son is the same. The therapists have tried all these pecs, etc. And I said to them, a cartoon image does nothing for him.
Yep.
When I show him, and I did the same, I took photos of, he loves his chocolate mousse. I took a photo of mousse or the trampoline, real images, and he was responding more to those than he was like at least choosing between two pictures of which
Yep.
one he wanted more than a cartoon, because to him, he doesn't know what a cartoon, like you said, some of them are very literal,
Yep.
and those images help. So I've told that and I thought it was just him, but obviously your son's the same. So
Yeah.
different things work for different kids. Yeah, that's
Yeah. I
amazing.
mean,
And it gives me hope as well that maybe one day he'll start doing that too.
oh, definitely. My son,
Mm.
I've got a folder on my phone in my images that's he's got his name on it, and he goes in there to find photos in case he doesn't have the photo at
Oh,
hand. He's so
wow.
funny because he'll
Yeah,
just go through and he'll scroll for ages until he finds a photo in my phone that shows
that's
me what he wants.
amazing.
Yeah,
I
so
might do that as well. Thank you. That's a handy tip.
yeah, it's been
Mm.
amazing. Like since that happened, everything's kind of falling into place. He uses an
Yeah,
AAC now, um,
great.
and it's pretty much just it's PEX, but he is now recognized as cartoons. So what we ended up doing is we'd put like the real life picture of the toilet next to the cartoon picture and connect them, so we can go, look,
Ah,
toilet,
so he
toilet.
knows.
Yeah, and that eventually
Yeah.
taught him that cartoon images represent real life things. So now
Mm,
he's fine with cartoon images, but that took,
that's great.
I want to say, 2 years or so for that to kind of really sink
Okay.
in. But
Yeah.
definitely it's worth doing. That's the
Okay. No,
kind of,
that's good to know.
but our AAC has a camera on it anyway, so you can take photos of real
Yeah.
things and just added in. But now, you know, we call it his talker. We take it everywhere with us. He's able to communicate what he wants to eat, where he wants to go, if he needs the toilet. He can even communicate pain now, which was a massive thing for us. That
Oh,
took a
that is
long
my
time.
hugest thing. Yeah. So that's
Yep.
amazing that they can gradually get there.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
and was that
yeah.
through images and
Yeah, yeah. So we've got all the body parts on there, and he'll tell me that something hurts, and then he'll show me what body part hurts.
that's
And that's kind
amazing.
of, we can kind of from there work out, oh, he's got a headache, or, you know,
Yeah,
oh,
if
it's
it's a
because he's
head or
got a
tummy.
splinter, you know, things like that. So that's been a massive thing
Oh,
for us,
that's
has been,
huge.
yeah. So
Mm.
it's definitely possible, and
Yeah. No,
you
that's
just
good
got
to
to,
know.
yeah, keep at it really and try all the different
Mm.
things, and you know your kid best. So
That's right. Yeah.
obviously real life images work, and like we tried for
Mm.
years with PECs with cartoons and nothing stuck, and then like just
That's
one day
us. That's us
randomly,
now.
yeah, I was like, look, a real
Wow.
photo, and
Just
he was like, he was so excited too. He's like, yes, that's where I want to go. That's
yeah.
exactly where I want to go. He was very excited, and from there,
Wow. He was probably just yeah, did not recognizing. That's great that you did that and he learned.
yeah, he was
I'm
just
going
kind
to
of
keep at it
bursting.
then, not giving up.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
just want
yeah,
to touch up on as well because we're talking about communication, like because
yep,
I, at the beginning or when he got diagnosed and once we realised he's not speaking or he's non-verbal, I remember right at the beginning, my hope was for him just to speak, right? And I know
yep,
that many parents go through this, and I just want to say, I think that as you go along and you see if your child struggles with communicating, etc. Like I used to be like, I just want him to speak. I'll be happy then, you know. And then you go through, and obviously my son's still nonverbal, and my perspective of that has changed. So sometimes once you see, you know, once they go through things or they struggle, you think, you know what, I just wanted to communicate. So I used to be just like speak, 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 and now I'm like, I just want communication. Like you said, I just want him to be able to tell me that he's in pain. I don't care if it's touching his stomach. I don't care if it's showing me on, yeah, PEC's cartoon picture,
yep.
just something to show me. I just want him to be able to communicate so he's not frustrated and we can understand what he's going through. So that's my biggest thing. And if you are in that situation where, you know, you are struggling with that, I just want you to know that, you know, at the end of the day, I know we want them to speak, but whatever makes them happy, you know, as long as they can communicate to you, the thing is that they'll be happy once they can communicate and they can through pictures or anything and they learn eventually like you said
Yeah,
yeah, that's really good.
yeah, and that's the thing. It all comes back to expectation, doesn't it? And
It is, yeah.
every communication, every form of communication is valid. Every
Oh
form,
yeah,
and it's. People often say it'd be easier if they could talk. Not necessarily. That doesn't mean
no,
that they can comprehend everything. You know, you've
that's
got
right,
little
comprehension.
kids. Yeah, you got little kids that can talk, but that still doesn't necessarily help.
Yep.
And it's people, there's all those myths where it's like, oh, if I use this form of communication, then they'll get lazy and they won't talk. It's like, no, no, no.
Yeah,
You know,
that's what
it,
people think.
of course it would be easier to talk if they could talk than going and
Yeah,
finding their pecs and
of
going through all
course.
the pictures, you know? So, I mean, my son can say a few words now. He just
That's
all of a
great.
sudden, when the anxiety kind of came down, he was able to, he can like pronounce P and B. So he can say stuff like pull
Nice.
or pop. He can
That's
do D as
awesome.
well. He only says mum
Yeah.
when he's upset, but so that's more of a sound, I think.
Yeah,
But yeah, he's probably got about 20 signs now,
that's
and
great.
I'm able to teach him. He's starting to click with that stuff. So every couple
That's
of weeks, I can
amazing.
teach him a new one. So I thought he would never be able to do it because of the dexterity problems, the fine motor skill.
Yeah,
But he's gradually improved with that. So pretty much the
that's
sky's the
great.
limit with
Yeah,
anybody and everybody. You know, it's if
I think
you,
our attitude, yeah, is very
yeah,
important, right? Yeah,
definitely,
being positive and
definitely.
not always. I mean, I've heard a lot of people say that even you know the doctors sometimes they're negative or they say they'll never speak and that they don't know that. That's just what they think,
Yep,
you know.
we
And
got
if
that a
you
lot.
yeah, see, and if you limited your child and didn't have these expectations, I'll give you a tiny little example. And my mother's been great, and it's funny because my mum had no idea about autism, nothing about it, and she has been so fantastic. It's like she just is very connected with my son, and she I would sometimes bring, especially when he was younger and he's nonverbal, and I thought he doesn't understand, so I'd give something to my eldest son, and I wouldn't buy him because I'm like, no, he doesn't like chocolate, he doesn't eat it. So and I wouldn't say nothing, I'd just give it to him. And my mum said, Jolene, I can see that he's sad in his eyes when he's watching you give that to your son. I'm like, no, he doesn't understand. And she's like, yes, he does. And so she brought over something. She's like, here's one for you, and here's one for you to my other son and to my youngest. And he got so happy, and I got so upset with myself that I didn't even know. And you just expect, because they can't talk, they don't understand. No, they understand a lot. They really do. And a lot have come out after they've spoken and said, or become verbal or communicate in some way, and said to their parents, like, hurt every time he said he doesn't understand or he doesn't know. Like, they hear that just because they can't speak. And that's something I really wanted to share, because I wish I knew that earlier. But thankfully for my mum, she, brought that to light, and I realised that.
Yeah, I mean, it's through no fault of our own. We're learning as we go, and
True.
once we realise, we change our ways with that stuff. And my son's got very good receptive language. He understands everything. If people talk about him around him, he tends to self-harm and things like that because he doesn't like it. He doesn't like people talking about him around him like he's not there. And it is the whole, his ears work. He just doesn't, verbalise.
Communicate it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
it is.
sad,
It's difficult. But I mean, if somebody is going through something similar and their child isn't diagnosed yet, but they suspect they've got a disability, what kind of advice would you give that parent?
Yeah, look, I think knowledge is key, and also, so in regards to if you think or suspect, I think first of all, if you're not 100% sure, maybe first start seeking information, asking people that are in the similar or same situation, or visit support groups or information, pages that have information about the diagnosis that you're thinking your child may have. So reading up about it, and then also, most importantly, is seeking professional advice. So many people like, I'm not sure, but there's, you can't lose anything by taking your child and going to see a pediatrician and being able to get them diagnosed. And I know that you want to be sure first, or you want to make sure. Sometimes it's hard to do that because you don't want to be hit with that reality. But the reality is, the sooner you do that, it's actually better for your child, and then you'll feel better knowing that you went. Early intervention, they say, is key, especially with autism, and knowing that you're doing the best for your child will actually make you feel better. So just don't hesitate. If you think, like I said, seek advice, speak to someone, and go see a professional, because at the end of the day, the sooner you get them, and it may not be, but if it is, at least then you went and did the right thing and seek supports, and then you can get your child the supports they need so that they can thrive in their life. The sooner the better.
100%. And it doesn't change who they are, does it? They
No.
are who they are. So getting them
100%.
diagnosed doesn't change your child at all.
No, a lot of people say, I don't want to get them labelled, etc. But the thing is, having that label is nothing to do with the child. It's more just getting to find out what they struggle in and what so if we didn't have a name for it, it's basically just finding out what supports they need and implementing that just to make their life easier. That's all you're doing.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and I reckon we could just talk forever.
So I know.
I'll probably have
Definitely.
to have you come back at some stage and do a follow-up.
Maybe a part two.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
But I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today.
Thank you so much. My pleasure also. I love chatting with you. Like I said, we can talk forever. So, thank you so much. And I hope that, whatever I spoke about has helped someone, in the same situation. So thanks.
Awesome. And make sure you check out Help You Cope on Instagram.
Yeah,
and
also
apparently our website
our
very
website's
shortly.
launching tomorrow. Yeah, we've got upcoming events and resources. So www.helpyoucope.com.au, and you can find everything there.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Bye.